Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at the Nikon Z6 III. The Z6 III kind of creates a new category of cameras positioned between mainstream DSLMs and high-speed, low-resolution cameras with fully stacked sensors. Doing what Nikon did with the Z6 III makes a lot of sense, as it allows them to offer some highly requested features at a relatively reasonable price point. In this video, we will take a look at the output, feature set, and the overall performance of the Z6 III. In terms of the physical appearance, not much has changed in comparison to the Z6 II. Basically, the only significant physical change is the rotating screen. It is 13.85 cm wide and it weighs 760 grams, including a battery and SD card. That is on the heavier side, but not significantly. It uses a magnesium frame and most of the surface is rubberized. It feels very solid overall, and in my opinion it is among the best cameras on the market in terms of the build quality. It is fully weather sealed and there are rubber gaskets around all doors. The biggest highlight of the Z6 III is definitely the brand new partially stacked 24.5 megapixel full frame sensor. The main purpose of partial stacking is to offer significantly higher readout speed in comparison to non-stacked sensors, but at the same time avoid very high cost of fully stacked sensors. It seems that the full sensor readout speed is 60 frames per second. That indeed makes it a pretty capable camera for electronic shutter use, and it allows it to capture high-resolution no-crop 60p video. There is an image quality penalty though. In terms of the dynamic range, my testing shows about one stop disadvantage in comparison to non-stacked cameras such as the S5 II or A7 IV. That is still plenty of dynamic range for a lot of situations, but the difference is noticeable in landscape photography or difficult light conditions such as sunsets, where you won't have as much flexibility for shadow recovery. The high ISO performance doesn't seem to be affected that much though. The amount of noise above ISO 800 is very comparable to non-stacked 24 megapixel full-frame sensors. ISO 3200 is still very clean and perfectly usable. You can still do a lot of editing and recover shadows at ISO 6400 without seeing much noise. ISO 12800 is usable, you will see some noise, but it is okay for online publishing. ISO 25600 is an emergency option. 24 megapixel resolution makes sense in this case, so I can't say that it is a disadvantage. It certainly takes very nice pictures, including the colors. Those are pretty cold out of the box, but there are plenty of options to adjust that, so it is certainly not an issue. Regarding that readout speed, the Z6 III can shoot 20 frames per second using electronic shutter with no penalties, so 14-bit RAWs with continuous autofocus. It can also shoot up to 120 fps, but with various limitations. Now the rolling shutter is better or lower than with mainstream hybrid DSLMs, but in more extreme situations you will still see some. You can also get 14 frames per second with mechanical shutter and therefore no rolling shutter, which is very solid value. Having said that, the camera won't let you force fully mechanical shutter with certain lenses. The Z6 III has one CF Express Type B slot and one UHS 2 SD card slot. If you want to take full advantage of the Z6 III speed, you will need to use that CF Express slot. I've been using it with a Pairgear 512GB Type B card, which worked great. It is also pretty affordable considering the speed and the capacity. I've been using it for about a year with no issues at all. Fortunately, the autofocus matches the speed of the Z6 III. In usual situations, it is very fast and reliable, including really difficult situations such as strong backlight or low light. The autofocus is super responsive and now definitely among the best systems on the market. I've also been getting very good results with tracking. I've been using the 3D tracking mode, which works really well. I was able to get a perfect hit rate at f4 with no issues whatsoever. The video autofocus is very similar to the ZF. It again works very well in usual sensible situations. It is smooth and pretty fast with no hunting. It actually worked pretty well even in some of my more extreme tests, such as this one with an SD card. In other difficult situations, such as this one, it still gets slow, but it can at least maintain the accuracy. The face tracking works really well though. I'm generally happy with the video autofocus, but there is still some work that needs to be done to match Sony and Panasonic. The video specifications greatly benefit from that semi-stacked sensor. First of all, the video quality is really nice. It shoots full sensor readout video up to 6K and fully downsampled 4K with no crop. The amount of detail is excellent. Probably the biggest highlight are the frame rates. The Z6 III shoots up to 6K 60p with no crop. People have been asking for no crop 4K 60p for years now, and finally they have that and more in hybrid mirrorless camera. This will definitely be one of the main selling points of the Z6 III. The rest of the video specifications are also pretty incredible. You will get pretty much everything, including ProRes, ProRes RAW, and Nikon and RAW. I wasn't able to test these advanced features yet, so hopefully I will be able to do that in some future videos. Unfortunately, the usual Nikon video quirks are carried over. You can still only choose ISO manually in fully manual mode. Automatic ISO is mandatory for all other modes, so Auto, B, S and A. It will still use very high shutter speeds even on a bright day for no reason and increase ISO in auto or semi-auto modes. Despite that, Nikon Z6 III is by far the most advanced full-frame DSLM video camera below $3,000. If you know how to take advantage of those very advanced codecs or you want no compromise slow motion up to 6K, the Z6 III is probably the one to get at the moment. The in-body image stabilization is also very similar to the ZF. It is rated for 8 stops, which is currently the highest rating of all Nikon cameras. These ratings always have to be taken with a grain of salt, but it is definitely a very effective in-body image stabilization. The static shots in video are a huge strength of the Z6 III stabilization. These are exceptionally stable and more than usable even about 100mm. The walking performance is also solid. Especially if you use both in-body image stabilization and electronic stabilization together, you will definitely get usable walking footage even without a gimbal. The handling is basically carried over from the Z6 II. The grip is very well shaped and I really like Nikon's texture on the rubberized parts of the camera. I think that most people will be happy with the grip size. One thing that I don't like though is that it uses protruding mounting points instead of integrated mounts. The control layout is typical for Z6 series Nikon, which means that you will get 2 command dials, a joystick and PSAM dial on the left side. The front dial doesn't stick out much and I found it to be a little bit difficult to turn. I have to say that I missed the third dial around the D-pad a bit, and I think that a camera with this kind of speed deserves a dedicated drive mode dial. On the other hand, I greatly appreciate separate stills and video modes with separate settings. A specific feature of Nikon cameras is that the Auto ISO is a separate menu item instead of being in the ISO selection menu like with all other brands. The top plate LCD is available as well. It is pretty solid and it shows useful information, but personally I haven't looked at it at all during my use. As always, Nikon's menu system has its own logic. If you are a long-time Nikon user, it will be fine for you, so you can skip this part. If you are used to menu system of any other brand, there will be a learning curve. There is the photo shooting menu, video menu, and the pencil or custom settings menu. Sometimes it is quite difficult to guess whether you should look for your desired setting in the shooting menu or custom settings menu. Once you get used to it, it will be probably fine, but I can't really say that I'm a fan of Nikon's menu. Fortunately, the iMenu or function menu can help a lot. The confirmation issue that I've described in my Z6 II review has been fixed, so the iMenu is now very pleasant to use. The display is excellent. It is a 3.2-inch panel with 2.1 million dot resolution. Those extra 0.2 inches are actually noticeable. The resolution is great and so is the brightness. This display is a joy to use, and I am very glad that Nikon did not cheap out on this part of the Z6 III. It uses a fully rotating mechanism, and well, I think that enough has been said about that. The electronic viewfinder uses 5.67 million dot panel with 0.80 times magnification and 4000 nit brightness. It is an excellent EVF, definitely a joy to use and a step above what you will usually get with mainstream full-frame DSLMs. The Z6 III uses the usual EN-EL15 batteries. It works with the C model or with legacy B models. The battery life is rated for 390 shots, which is slightly below average but still pretty solid, especially when we consider that it uses excellent EVF and the display, which naturally come with higher consumption. I was still able to get through a typical testing day on a single charge, which is not a bad result. In-camera charging is pretty fast at 10 watts, but it only works with C model batteries. To sum up, the Nikon Z6 III is a very interesting proposition. It bridges the gap between mainstream full-frame cameras and high-speed flagships with fully stacked sensors. It is a great option for those who are looking for a fast camera with great electronic shutter performance or very advanced video specifications and no crop high frame rates. The speed comes at a price of one stop of dynamic range below ISO 800. Therefore, I wouldn't recommend it if you are primarily looking for a landscape camera or the best possible image quality in the price range. The feature set is great, including the screen, electronic viewfinder, in-body image stabilization, and the build quality. The handling and certain aspects of the user experience are typical for Nikon cameras, as explained in the video. Overall, I'm really happy that the Z6 III and the new category of cameras that it created exist. It offers a good balance between the output quality, speed, and video specifications with reasonable compromises. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.